beautiful. You are beautiful. I'm live, baby, because I'm beautiful. Woo! Hey, mama. All right, I better stop that. There's going to be copywriting issues and stuff. Jesse, could you kill the TV behind me, please? Thank you very much. We are live, everybody. Appreciate you. All of you out there watching the church channel. I want to take a minute and tell you thank you. And all of you from last week that were here and handling everything. My Bishop Vance is the church, one of the three bishops in the church, and he's our bishop at large, handling the larger aspect of the ecclesiastical side of the church and expansion of protocols and wonderful little things that we have to do. And he stepped in as always at the last minute. I had my heart surgery on Monday last week. It was my 7th heart surgery, and out of 7 heart surgeries, all 6 failed except for that one. It made it, and so it was a blessing. And as y'all know, the weeks prior, I lost my brother, and then my dad, and then I had the heart surgery on Monday, and unfortunately, we lost Papa Chuck, my wife's spiritual dad, and he's very important to our ministry because Chuck. One of the houses at Jonathan's Refuge here specifically is actually named in his honor. And so I thought, we've had a lot of loss lately. And I say I've had a lot, but people in this room have had a lot. Chuck was very dear to, Cam and Uber and Cam Uber and Jesse. And so these men knew Chuck. And when you look at loss of life, I thought about a couple things like, number one, how do you deal with it? That's a good thing. It's a great conversational piece. How do you deal with grief? Everyone deals with grief in their own way. Everybody has, some of us go internally. Some of us just get quiet, retrospective, looking back over their life. Some of us act out. Some of us drink. Some of us do drugs. Some of us turn into sex addicts. I mean, there's all kinds of things gambling addictions, and you can really go down some dark chutes. Food, overeating, absolutely. We can use that excuse all day long. I'm hungry. And the next thing you know, you wake up like I was, 450 pounds. And so when I was thinking about this, I wanted to read a scripture for you. And it's Chuck taught me a lot of lessons. Chuck was a mentor to me. He was actually my marriage counselor. I asked him and his wife to give me and my wife our marriage counseling prior to getting married. And the reason is I have never been divorced before. So I didn't know how do you merge two families, right? She has grown children. I have children. We have nieces and nephews and cousins and brothers and sisters. And how do you, and parents, how does that work? I don't know, because I've never had to deal with that. So he was my blueprint. Him and his wife went through divorces themselves, graphically horrible ones like myself and my wife, and they successfully were together for decades, man. And so I thought of this in Joshua 1:9 for Chuck. It says, have I not commanded you, be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. For the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. And that just brings me so much comfort. And it's something along the lines of what Chuck would say. For those that don't know, Chuck was the retired sheriff of Pierce County. And he would tell his son every night, I would put him to bed in the last few months of his life. My wife and me were his caretakers. And this last year, we lived at the home pretty much. And Chuck would always tell his deputies and his people that were under him over his career that still call all the time, and his son who works in the private sector of security, be alert. Don't fall asleep on the job. Help as many people as you can, but make sure you get home safe. Be courageous in those endeavors. Be strong, because people are gonna push you. And then he would say, but remember one thing, if you're in that alley by yourself, you're never alone. And so this verse, be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. I heard it speaking to me this week as I was reading through some things, and I wanted to read it because I want you to take out some things when it says be not Have I not commanded you? I want you to put your name in there. Have I not commanded you, Cameron, be strong and courageous. Don't be afraid, Cam. Jesse, do not be discouraged. For the creator of all, God, will be with you wherever you go. And someone says, well, was God with me when I was abused or beaten? Absolutely. Absolutely. I do not believe God is a puppet master. I know some people in my very own church who might believe that doctrine, and that's okay because we are a church of inclusion, which allows us to have different beliefs. Some of us believe in Pentecostal, the gift of speaking in tongues. Some people don't. I don't care if you're the Hindu or the Christian or the Buddhist. I don't care what it is you look at. I'm a child of God, and the universe is with us at all times. And so there are dark moments in our life, but there are good moments. And Chuck saw a lot of dark moments, and he was able to come home every day. And that verse is something that me and him spoke about, actually. Be strong, Jonathan. Be courageous. I could hear him saying that to me. Don't be afraid. Because I was actually afraid this week because I just lost him. So the week that I was resting from my heart surgery last week, I was with my family, which was a blessing. My family is always fun to be with. And they treat me, my son, our oldest son, John, Sarah, and the grandbabies. Hi, guys. John and Andrew, they treated me just amazingly, as they do always. So I didn't have to do anything, and I was able to really spend time thinking about Chuck. And it's interesting when you think about people in your life. That was one of the things that Chuck would always talk about, this verse when we talked about it, that we have to be strong and courageous. But does that make you strong just because you're strong? And does it make you courageous just because you're courageous to go through something? Because someone asked me this question this week. They said, hey, dude, you're like the most strongest, courageous guy I've ever met. And I'm like, actually, I am so not the strongest, so not the most courageous. I will jump up in your arms if I see a spider. You will have me laying in your arms. Ask anyone that knows me. Everybody at the refuge has seen it. Ah! Ah! Poor spider. I'm like 5,000 times its size. There you go. They're pointing out one of the places I killed them. But here's my point. It's sad because think about it. Am I courageous? I am in many aspects, but I'm also weak in others. Are you courageous? Or let me ask you this question. Do you ever feel like you're alone? I don't know about you, but when I was going through the surgery, having gone 6 heart surgeries before, and they all failed, I was not courageous. Sunday, the day before my surgery, I ended up with a couple of the knuckleheads here. Actually, it was Saturday with a couple of the knuckleheads, and we went camping and wanted to be in the mountains. And Sunday, I went to Papa Chuck's house because before I ever take an expedition climbing the mountains, we would always go to Papa Chuck's house and he would pray for us. He took great pleasure in knowing the exact start time of our trip and the exact end time. And if he didn't hear from us by a certain time, he was not kidding. He was going to call out to the special forces. He was going to call in every favor as a retired sheriff he could to get everybody off the mountain. Well, the truth is to get my wife, Cece, and Sierra, the other lady that was with us. He said the guys were on their own. But Papa Chuck, I went to him to pray with me before he passed, right before my surgery that day. And, I was impacted by him. And until that moment at the bed that he passed on, just a few days later, I didn't realize that I made an impact in his life. I didn't realize that. I thought it was just a one-way street. I did. I was please give me Papa Chuck. Mm-hmm. I cherished every story. Mm-hmm. I videotaped. I would record stories, write down lessons that he gave me about moral lessons and conundrums that he's been up against in the world. And how do you overcome this obstacle? And I would just ask those questions of a man who's 85, who's seen it all. And at the end, he was introducing me to his brother. And he said something that I cherished and I will cherish the rest of my life. He said, this guy right here, And he says this to his brother. He says, "This is my best friend." Now that grabbed me. Best friend? Chuck, you were friends with Billy Graham. Who am I? I'm just a thug, man. I'm just your half thug. And I leaned down and I kissed him on his forehead, as I often did at night when I put him to sleep. Every night I would kiss his forehead and I would whisper in his ear, "I love you, my dear friend." And this time when I went down, I said, "I love you, my friend. And this will be probably my last kiss." And I kissed him. And he looked at me and he says, "I'm ready."
Wow.
Because of you helping me.
Wow.
Now, I never knew I impacted my friend. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So in a moment of me helping him, and I say a moment, the last, whatever it's been, a year that it's been real bad, in helping him, trying to help the man that I am mentored by, I woke up with a loss. And I'm sitting there going, well, he was my marriage counselor. This was the guy that taught me some amazing, and I say tricks, but amazing tools is what I mean by tricks. Things that you can do to make sure people remember that they're valued. Something simple as this. Both our wives were leaving one day. And mine says, "Bye, honey." Walks out the door. I said, "Bye, babe." I'm watching TV with Chuck. Chuck's wife walks out the door. Mama Noreen gets door almost closed. And then Chuck goes, "Noreen?" And she pops her head back in. "Yes, Chuck." And he can't see too well. He's looking around like he's looking for it. He goes, "Noreen?" She goes, "Yes, Chuck, I'm right here, honey. What do you need?" And he goes, "Oh, I just wanted to say I love you." And she melted. She was like a little schoolgirl. I watched this 81-year-old angel just go, "Oh," and run over almost, skipping like a little girl to kiss her husband goodbye. And she walks out the door, and in the smoothest fashion, the greatest swagger you could have of being authentic, Chuck puts his hand on mine. And in the last 6 months, he loved to, we would hold hands. We'd watch TV, and he just wanted to hold your hand. And whoever you were that came and visit him, he wanted to hold your hand because he was losing his sight, so he couldn't see, but he could feel, and he loved holding your hand. So he grabs my hand and he says, "Now, Jonathan, that is what you need to do every time your wife leaves the house. Take that moment and do that." And you know something? I tried it the next day. I did. I did the exact same thing. And I got the same reaction. It was amazing. I was like, "Chuck, this stuff's good. We should sell it in a book." Now, why am I saying that? Well, you got to understand, this was my mentor for marriage. So when I lost him.
Can I impart real quick?
1 second. Okay. When I lost him, I lost that mentor. Now I don't have that mentor. And that's when I heard Chuck saying in my devotion this week, be courageous, be strong. And I may have lost him in the respect of asking new questions, but I gained him in a deeper spiritual, because as all of you know, when I passed, one of the things that I learned about the second, if you want to call it the other side, heaven, however you want to refer to it as, is that they're all connected to us. My grandfather knew everything I had done, everything. I never had to speak a word of it to him. He's connected to me. So right now, Chuck's this amazing spiritual being filled with love and joy and just an adventure in the next realm of things in heaven. And he's connected to me. So that's the key here that I want you to take away of loss, is there is loss, and it hurts. It really does hurt. I don't cry often. It's something I have a problem with. But when I do cry, it really took a lot. And it seems lately that, God, my brother, my dad, my adopted father-in-law, spiritual father-in-law, like, what's the lesson from this? And that's what I heard Chuck say. Just be courageous. You're going to make it through this. Stand tall and be courageous. So as you guys are going to go through this week, as you're looking at your life and what you're going through, maybe it's your boss, maybe it's your school, maybe it's your family members, maybe it's your roommate, maybe it's a group that you were friends with before, maybe it's a person you lost that was family. No matter what it is, you guys, That's only 10% of life.
Mhm.
90% of it is what you and me do with it. So I choose to honor my friend Chuck.
Mhm.
And this house is named after Chuck and his wife, Marie. And I'm going to honor him in the best way I can by being courageous. So this month on the 27th, we will be at the service. Um, I'll make sure everyone has the address. It's going to be in Tacoma, most likely. So it's a 2-hour haul or an hour and 45 minutes for most. It'll be on the 27th, and I'm guessing it's going to be, I don't know what time, but I will get all that very shortly for everybody. But to honor a man like that, or anyone, it's real simple. Honor their legacy. You know, his legacy was being this beautiful, humble man. This guy was an amazing man, and he did so much stuff. I looked at him one day and I said, man, I'm not even a tenth, not even 1% of a humble person compared to you. He was so humble, and he made me on a daily basis want to be a better person. You ever run into someone like that in your life?
Mhm.
Well, I did, and that man was that guy.
Mhm.
And so I can cry about it, which is okay. It's good to cry and get those tears out. But I also want you to know it's what you do with it. It's how you turn it into something joy. When your mom died and your dad died, what'd you do with it? Did you celebrate it? Did you mourn it? Were you happy? Or did you leave a good legacy? Let's try to see how we can help that legacy of Chuck live on forever.
Mhm.
Chuck would always say, and I'll end with it, stay alert in your life. Be awake, because there are bad people out there. Do good every chance you get. And above all, in all of your actions, make sure you come home safe. And I don't just mean that physically, I'm talking metaphorically and spiritually in your actions. And just like Chuck would tell me, I want to tell every person in this room and out there that if you know me, then you know I'm sincere when I say this. I love each one of you dearly. And I love you guys. And you guys make me a better person. And I just hope that Chuck's life and the example he lived and the parts that I've shared with you about him, they might help you to become just a little better tomorrow than you were today. That's all we can ask in life. I love you guys. God bless. You know the drill. Live positive. We're going to end on the video and talk.
So
Yes, sir.
I heard something